Good morning and welcome back to Shelter Tales. With me today is a first. It is Dr. Peterson, who's a traveling vet. And we were just talking here today about crazy cats who just will, or dogs, who will not go to the vets for you even if they need help. And I understand you've been doing this, Dr. Peterson, for about 12 years. I mean, did you go to the traditional route where you had an office and then went, there's too many animals that need help that aren't getting it because they can't get into the vets?
Right. Well, I think probably nothing is traditional about what I did because I actually went to vet school as a second career. So I was working in the environmental, conservation field, and then I decided to go back to vet school.
Wow.
So, yeah, right. So
that's a commitment.
So that's one thing, and then yes, I did work for probably 15 years in stationary hospitals and did the traditional, office calls and surgery and that kind of stuff. So I've been doing house calls for probably the past 6 or 7 years, maybe more like 7 years. But the biggest reason I think, biggest reason I decided to do it was because I did see a need for people with those cats that they couldn't get into the carriers, or the dogs, the big, large breed arthritic dogs that people could not get into the cars. And
or even older people, I'm sure, who would maybe I got to wait till my cat's sick, but I have to wait till my son can take me. I mean, I've had that in my family.
Right, exactly. So people would, I would be working in a hospital and clients would come with pets that hadn't been to the vet, and a lot of cats since they were kittens, and here you've got a 12-year-old cat, and the common denominator was they couldn't get the cat into the carrier, or once they did get the cat into the carrier, the cat would get sick in the car, or so stressed at the vet that they could barely be examined. And then sometimes I saw these pets that were in had advanced diseases because the people couldn't get them
they had not been taken care of for, even dental. I think you're supposed to get dental for your animals, and I didn't realize that for a long time until they started working on a cat's teeth. But also, I think I have a cousin who has a dog that the minute he gets in the car, he's car sick all over the car. Who needs that,
Right, exactly.
That stresses you and him.
Exactly.
And as I was telling you right before the show started, I've got a cat that had a tough life. He was found as a kitten feral. I was his third or fourth owner, 3 other shelters. And for the first, I'd say, year, I didn't see him. He would sit under the chair in the dining room or down. We've got a hole in the basement that was a sub-basement. He would go up there. I know he was eating, but he didn't die on me, and could not touch him. It's gone on, I guess, 6 years now. I'm allowed to touch him. But we just tried to, about a year ago, get him in a carrier, because he's frail. He's frail for a young cat. And he went insane. I couldn't believe that 2 adults could not wrangle this skinny cat in a carrier, and then we didn't see him again for a week. And so it's like too much stress. Joked with you that I won't have to sell the house with him in it. Or look for him when I don't see him for a few weeks and he's going to be dead because I can't get him into the carrier. He's had such a bad experience. Experiences. But so aside from the typical cats and dogs, anybody else call you from any not strange, but wallabies, parakeets?
No, rabbits, but it's always been, unfortunately, it's kind of end-of-life care for rabbits. I did work at a hospital that did exotic pets, so I do have some experience with rabbits and guinea pigs and pocket pets, but I don't. I've been away from it for so long that I don't really feel comfortable doing those pets anymore.
So it's typical dogs and cats. You're saying your bulk of your dogs and cats. And I know in going over some things when we were talking and I was looking on your site, you don't do ER care. They would have to actually go to, and if you have an emergency, it would just be too much for you to do ER care. Do you do surgery? Do you do, what don't you do in the typical well baby visits if it has to be done? I want to say mostly well baby, probably. They're bringing their cats and dogs, or you're coming to see their cats and dogs just to shots and things like that.
Right, and actually when I first started the business, most of what I was doing was in-home euthanasias. And then I was seeing a lot of sick pets. And I was kind of looking forward to the time when I would actually be seeing well pets for routine care. I can do a lot of what you would normally or routinely happen in a vet hospital. So, a good physical exam, of course, is important, and then vaccines, blood draws for heart rate
you can do the
and-
blood draws,
for geriatrics.
nails, teeth, things like
Nails,
that.
teeth, no. No anesthetic procedures. I do some other diagnostics, like geriatric screening of blood work, and I do blood pressures at home.
Okay.
And some other diagnostics like skin problems and ear problems and things like that. But I cannot do anesthetic procedures and X-rays, that kind of stuff.
You can do X-rays.
I cannot
you
do
cannot
X-rays.
do X-rays.
I work out of my car,
Oh.
so I have a.
I'm thinking we had a mobile groomer on the show that she did various things. So between a mobile groomer and a mobile vet, you're set if you have a crazy animal, which I do.
Right.
How many animals do you have yourself?
Right now, I always say I'm down to, at one point I had 2 dogs and 3 regular cats.
As opposed
to the terminal geriatric cats that were living upstairs that I was letting, those guys. And they were kind of, that was in flux. I was having some and leaving some. So I currently have a 12-year-old Jack Russell Terrier named Vita, and a relatively new cat named Cashew.
Jack Russell get along with a cat?
It's kind of funny.
My brother had a Jack Russell and a cat. The cat just went somewhere else and hid.
It depends on what you define as getting along with. They
not killing one another would be the
right.
thing.
The Jack is she tries to play with the cat.
Yeah, they're so high energy. Even at 12, it's amazing.
At 12, it's incredible.
Amazing.
Just incredible. So she tries to play with the cat, and the cat, sometimes he doesn't run, which is good, because
Stands
if
his
he
ground.
ran,
The Jack would chase it.
She'd chase it. And she's not aggressive. She
Yeah.
just wants to play.
Yeah.
But the cat is just really not interested in playing with the dog.
Cats are not, I see friends that have cats and dogs snuggle together, and I look at mine and go, that will never happen, so I might as well not get a dog.
Right.
It's amazing how they are.
Right.
But so you've been doing this about 7 years. I mean, it's very, there's a lot of compassion services too, I'm sure, which is probably a tougher part of the job even than taking care of animals. And I'm talking about putting an animal down.
Right.
I mean, when I have to take mine, I would much rather do it in the comfort of the home. They're not scared, they're not terrified, they're with their bed and with their people. And I think that's so important. So I'm assuming that you do that in the course of your rounds that you do.
Yeah, I do. I do quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
And it's and for all the reasons that you said, I think it's so much, if it's something that has to be done, I think it's a necessary thing. So why not do it at home where the pet is not stressed? And that's my priority, is to make sure that pet is not aware of what's going on, is not anxious, is not stressed out. And as a result, I think the people are not either, or it's difficult. So of course there is some stress, but it's just so much more peaceful at home. And I often bring treats with me, and the pets will be enjoying treats, even pets that haven't eaten for the owners. I think a new person comes in, and I've got all kinds of things for them to eat, and especially with dogs, they'll be eating treats, and then I can kind of sneak the sedation in, because I sedate everybody first, so that I sedate the pet first so that the pet falls asleep. And then it just becomes just a very natural, peaceful thing.
Would you consider that an emergency service? I'm thinking one day I looked at a cat that I had, and she was quite old. She had pancreatitis and treated, but she was her head and drooling. And I remember going outside and saying to my husband, "We have to take her. It's time." And the worst part and I'm not a proud person, is we got her down there. They were very kind. They thanked her for being a good, loyal pet, which of course, I'm already
Right.
waterworking because
Right.
I'm putting her down and I loved her. And she was my daughter's cat, and my daughter had passed away, and it was the last thing I had of her, and I had to put her down. So, and then I go into the vets, and they're saying, thank you for being a loyal pet. And I'm, what? And then they give me this little kitty coffin, and I am wailing through the rooms, out through I don't even know how. I think my husband had to go back and pay them. I get out through the thing, into the parking lot with people coming in, and of course, like, oh my God, people are coming in. And it also saves you. You can mourn privately, I guess is what I want to say.
Right.
The pet can feel comfortable, and you can mourn privately. And so if somebody called you and said, like during the day, not at midnight, I think my cat needs to be put down, would you have the capability of getting there at that time to help the animal pass over?
I often do.
Yeah.
I'm not always available.
Right.
But and actually I often have my answering the voicemail message on my phone says, I can often accommodate people for euthanasias same day or on short notice. So
that's usually on, a lot of times it's on short notice.
It's mostly short notice.
Right.
And I really do try to accommodate people. And I will often text people. I never thought I would be a texter, but thank goodness for texting. But I will often text people because if I have a day of house calls, I want to be able to touch base with them right away and say, if you think it can wait until later this evening, I can come later this evening. So I really do try to accommodate people. The only day that I may not or often am not is Sunday. Sunday's
everybody needs time off, doctor.
Yeah.
Everybody needs time just to clear their head and rest. Do you have typically do you have clients that have you on a schedule, like, hey, 6 months ago he got his rabies vaccine, I'm just saying, and now we got to do a heartworm. Do you have like they're scheduled, or is most of your stuff, hey doc, I got a problem, or there houses or households that you already have scheduled that they're your customers and you go every 6 months, you go every year to them, something like that, or whatever their needs are, at that time for vaccines or whatever.
Right. Yes. I actually have both. So I have kind of a core group, and it's growing. I'm still accepting new clients, but I am currently doing scheduled appointments Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I book those days, and with new patients as well as long-standing clients who need just the annual exam or the semi-annual exam. And then for other clients that call and new clients that may have a problem, I can either try to fit them in when I have an assistant helping me, because I prefer to have an assistant helping me, especially for new patients that I don't know. I can even either fit them in, or if the person wants me to come and knows that I won't have an assistant, I can do that as well. It's easier for me if I know the pet.
Sure.
Because then I know what I can do.
What your expectations are as far as holding them down by yourself. Yep.
I know if I can handle that pet by myself. And some owners are wonderful at, holding the pet themselves if I have to get blood work, and the pets are wonderful. But I would not do that.
But there's always those stinkers. Yeah, and I don't think so. You would want an assistant with you if you were going to a new home with, say, a dog that has something wrong, and don't blame you.
Right.
I mean, I took, again, with this mobile groomer, I took one cat, was shredding everything in my house, and took him out and was going to get him soft paws.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So he doesn't know what's going on, of course, and he smells other cats and dogs in the van. And she puts him on a table and puts a leash around him, and it was tragic. He came over to me, he looked up at me, and then he put his head against my stomach like this, like, Mom, don't let him do it, And then when she started doing this, he was like, he was very calm, but it didn't look like he was going to be coming. It was heartbreaking because they trust you so much as their owner.
Right.
And it's like, what is she going to do? Oh, no.
Right.
Little stinker got him off within 2 days. He pulled every one of them off with his teeth, and I'm finding soft paws all over the house. So that didn't work. We just now or spray bottle. That's about it. That's about the only thing I can do to stop them scratching. But I love them. But so you are located out of where? Are you in the Granby, East Granby area?
I'm in Granby.
Granby. So
Yeah.
you would want to keep your clientele, just for the sake of not running yourself ragged, within about a 20-mile radius.
Right.
That extends up into Massachusetts and then down into Connecticut.
Right.
And you're doing this at least 5.5 days a week, from what you're saying. You try to keep Sundays free.
Right.
And I don't blame you. Is there anything that owners should know, or anybody watching should know, about what they should expect, or, I guess, say if you have a big dog. Cats are they're neurotic. So if you have a big dog, what to do before the doctor comes in, so that you don't have any more problems than necessary? Is there something they can know to do before you get there?
So I do a lot of screening, particularly for large dogs.
Like a Doberman or a Pit, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, they're strenuous dogs.
Right,
Yeah.
they're big dogs, and sometimes dogs are a little more nervous in their own house, or they're a little more territorial in their own house.
Yeah.
Whereas in a vet, they wouldn't necessarily.
Whereas the vet, they're shaking and dragging chairs with them. Yeah, it's not their
Right.
territory. Yeah.
So I do some screening. I do tell people I'm not a big fan of putting muzzles on dogs. Of course, if they have to be muzzled, they have to be muzzled. But I'd like to try other things first. If somebody tells me that the dog is aggressive, then we have to have another discussion.
Another conference. I think about
another
that. Right?
discussion.
Yeah.
But most dogs are, dogs that are very anxious at the vet. A lot of times they are still anxious at home, but I try to do things to help decrease the anxiety. So my assistant and I walk in, we sit down, we ignore the dog. The dog is able to just kind of get used
your
to us
sense
being
and
there.
smell, and
I always have a ton of different treats for
them. Right there, the treat lady.
So, and then I'll be chatting with the owner. The dog is getting used to us. My assistant starts handing treats. We try not to just make a big fuss.
Right.
Then the owner will leash the dog so that we have some control. For some dogs, I will have people, there are different kinds of muzzles. So those cloth muzzles that the dog is not really allowed, or can breathe clearly but can't pant effectively. I will have owners, if they have the time, and I'm working with a couple right now, that have them train the dog to wear a basket muzzle. So the basket muzzle are like what the racing greyhounds wear. They can pant effectively, they can drink, you can actually feed them treats. And many dogs, if it's done well, they like wearing that muzzle because they associate.
So it's comfortable. So it's not something new and frightening when you go in and
Yeah.
Now, we don't muzzle cats,
Right?
But I imagine that they're a little more neurotic than dogs. I would have to, based on mine, or maybe I'm just getting all this. I'm getting all the sad sack. I think maybe Shelter see me coming and go, "Here, Connie, take this one." Right? He's nuts. Fit right in with your other four. So I would imagine, it's funny. Sometimes we'll go to the vet, and we talked about this. That people, we talked with Jenny. She has a cat that most of them want to get in that crate after they see the vet. I mean, it's hard to get him in the crate at home, and then you get him out of the crate. And I have one that'll. When you put her on the floor after she's done, she'll look at you and she'll kind of like going back in, and she goes in on her own. And Jenny had said one of hers freaked out so badly he wouldn't get in the crate at home or at the vet's. So I imagine that cats, and only because I have more experience with them, are tougher to handle when they get nervous. They're wiry, all little needle points. Do you find that?
They're most cats. I think cats tend to do fairly well in house calls. How I usually have owners prepare is have a blanket available that the cat is used to sleeping on, so it has the cat scent, and it has the scent of the house on it. I usually, depending on if the cat is the kind of cat that hides when the doorbell rings or when strangers come, I have the people confine the cat to a small space. I will, like a bathroom is ideal. So I will text the people.
Get them into a small area, because boy, they escape and you can never
that's
find
it,
them.
and you can't find them again. So, but I don't want the cat to be sitting in the bathroom for hours either, stressed out.
Yeah,
so
he's being punished.
Yes. People can get used to feeding the cat in the bathroom, so they're already comfortable going into the bathroom.
Okay.
And then 5 minutes before, I'm texting them, and then they close the door. So there are all these ways. And then I use a lot of towels and blankets, and I use Feel Away. So you must be familiar with Feel Away.
Yeah, the Feel Away. We have the Feel Away plugins and the Feel Away collars, and I'm starting to use a spray that you put on the back, the cat, just to calm them down a little.
Yep. And it can have a calming effect. So I either use the owner's or the cat's own blanket or something of mine, and everything is sprayed with Feel Away because it is calming. I do use calming music for cats and dogs, so that helps. And I tend to use the towels to wrap the cat, because you can't have all the legs going everywhere. And most cats, once they're in the towel, they relax. And sometimes it just takes 5 minutes or even 10 minutes. And because the house call is generally an hour long, it's longer than a hospital most of the time. We have the time to let the cat calm down. A lot of cats love to be scratched around their neck, around their ears. And you could feel them visibly, You can feel them relax.
Right.
And then we move on to the next part of the exam, and some cats like to have their heads covered. So, I'll work on the rest of the cat and head is covered. So those are the kinds of tools that I use to help calm them. And most of them do really, really well.
Do they really?
Yeah,
I'm surprised. I would have thought dogs would have been your much better clients, just only because I have more experience with cats. And I can say that one of them, she's very good. When we took her out to get her groomed, she struggled against the vacuum sound, and all of a sudden she fell asleep. 1 out of 5. So I often think, So if someone wanted to get you, I know you said your website. My website has to be updated too.
Yeah.
So if your website has to be updated, but where could they go to get more information about you and your services?
So the website is drlisapetvet.com. Being updated, and
drlisapet.com?
Petvet.com.
drlisapetvet.com.
Right, so it's like DRLISAPETVET. My email address is drlisapetvet@sbcglobal.net.
drlisapetvet@sbcglobal.net. Okay.
And my phone number, and many people in this day and age text me.
Most people, that's another good question. Is it easier to text you than call your answering machine? Gets call your answering service?
I'll tell you, most of the time when people call, they will get my voicemail.
Okay.
Because most of the time I'm
you're
either driving or I'm with a patient. But that shouldn't discourage somebody from leaving a message. If there is a more urgent issue, somebody can text me. So, and the number is 8.
So it's easier. So you would suggest texting because
texting is fine.
Okay.
And some people don't have emails, and some people don't text. So then
they can call the phone number. They can get your answering services.
It's not an answering service, but it's a voicemail.
Okay, voicemail. Okay.
And it's 860-256-9861.
9821?
9861.
61. Okay. So you got that. And if she's within a 20-mile radius of Granby, went to Cornell, has done this for several years in a second career. That is impressive because I mean, when you go to be a surgeon, I think you study what you have to go to a medical school, but then you study the hand, you study the foot. And you got to study so much more with animals because there's so many more kinds to treat. And I'm glad I found you. And I would say don't be surprised if Diego's owner gives you a call.
Oh.
and
Well, I'd
Connie
love to hear from
Galley
her.
gives you a call.
Right.
I got crazy man at my house, but and I've had too many needle points already. So any days? Well, I guess because your practice is still building and you've got a lot of clientele already.
Right.
Any days better for a typical service to like just, hey, I need my cat chipped or I need my dog blood work. Any better days for you? Like, do you have days where you're less busy than other days if somebody, or it all just depends?
It really all just
depends,
just
right?
depends. And it
Okay.
depends on the season too. You know, around the beginning of the school year it tends to be a little slower.
Right.
You
right.
know, sometimes around the holidays it tends to be slower, but I haven't really, thankfully, haven't had that slow January. It's been a pretty busy January.
Right.
But as I said, I usually do house calls with an assistant on Tuesdays and Thursdays,
Okay.
and then I try to fit in whatever I can do by
It's
myself.
something that's so needed. I'm glad that that I met you, and because certainly I know there's 3 of us here in the studio right now, aside from you, and 2 of us needed the services. So it certainly is very salient to be talking about it today because just less stress on the owner too. I mean, I hate taking I hate to say that. I hate taking my animals to the vets because I know a day ahead of time what I'm going to go through.
Right.
I can't stand it.
Right.
And so it's good to know. So you've been be getting flooded with calls.
Well, I hope so.
We hope so. We hope to. We hope you don't inundate you, but we hope to. So anybody wants to give Dr. Lisa Pet Vet a call or go onto the website. It's a wonderful service where your animals and you can keep a couple of years on your life for medical problems that they're not getting all stressed out like I do. So I'm so glad that you could join us today.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed being here.
I'm delighted to have met you.
Yeah, me too.
I know we took a while to get together
Yes.
because you were busy and I was busy. And we're both dealing with very elderly parents, which is
Yes.
another whole story for another day. That's hard to do, I know. So,
right.
but thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, well, thank you. I enjoyed being here.
That's it. See you next time.